What up, guys? Welcome to the Son of Wonder. The trailer for the Acolyte dropped today, the new Star Wars series, so let's conversationalize. Alright, guys, so this video it's about the trailer, but at the same time, it's also just kind of about the series in general, and my wider ranged thoughts on all of it. I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying I probably won't be reviewing this series. Now, I'm pretty sure I've reviewed all the previous Star Wars pieces of content that have come out since I started the channel. So I reviewed almost all of Andor, I reviewed Tales of the Jedi, I've reviewed all the Bad Batch seasons, blah blah blah. And so this probably will be the first Star Wars thing that I'm just flat out probably not going to do anything for. Mainly because, if you don't know the build-up to this series coming out, in relation to the person creating it, Leslie Headland, as well as the actors and actresses in it, they've said some things that do not bode well for the quality of this series. But more so than the quality, I think, is just the ideology. Now, I've said before in one of the previous videos I did that I would be doing what I would call the woke-o-meter for different new movies and shows coming out. And I haven't been as on that as I've wanted to be. I haven't really done one for Bad Batch Season 3 so far, but there hasn't really been anything big in that, so I'm glad for that as far as wokeness goes. And then, amongst other things, I haven't double down on doing that as much, like rating it on like scale of 1 to 10 on the woke-o-meter. How woke is it? How much of that ideology is infused in a certain project's storytelling? And the creator, like I said, her name is Leslie Headland, and the actors and actresses have already said some things that have pretty much guaranteed that the woke ideology is going to be pretty well infused in the Acolyte, and that is the main reason, the primary reason I'm not seeing it. As far as the trailer itself goes, I mean, obviously, here's where I stand on things. If I had just seen the trailer, no foreknowledge, no like background, no sequel trilogy, no degradation of Star Wars' quality as a brand and a franchise over the years, no destruction of Star Wars from Disney that has happened. If I had none of that and just saw this trailer, if as a kid I saw this trailer, I would have ate it up. I mean, I am all about Jedi and Sith and lightsabers and lightsaber battles and like the kung fu stuff that seems like they're infusing in this trailer a little bit. I'm all about it. I would have loved it. I would have been so excited. But that is not the case. I have the foreknowledge. I know what the people have said about the show, creating it. I know what Disney has done to Star Wars over the years, and none of it good. I know all that. So, watching this trailer, I already knew I really wasn't going to watch the show. And there's a line in this trailer that basically confirms that for me, and it is a line said by one of the characters there. They basically say, it's not about good or bad, it's about power and who is allowed to use it. If that is not explicitly stating the moral code, if you will, of the people writing in this show, I don't know what does. And, to you guys it might not seem as blatant as it does to me, but I hear that. And one of the actors had already said at Star Wars Celebration before, way before this trailer's come out, that, in his mind, Star Wars wasn't really about good or evil. It's about all the gray areas in the middle. The reason that I love the Jedi and the Sith and the Force and exploring that part of Star Wars is, one, because it's the main part of Star Wars. It's why Star Wars is so good. I mean, some people out there say, like, oh, we don't want Jedi anymore, we don't want Sith anymore, we just want the bounty hunters and, all the other stuff. And I am firmly against that, because to me, that's not what Star Wars is about. Like, as presented in the original trilogy as well as the prequel trilogy, that's not what Star Wars is about. It's about good and bad. The trailer for The Acolyte is literally saying the exact opposite of what is actually true about Star Wars. The original Star Wars, 1 through 6. The prequel trilogy, as well as the original trilogy, especially when they're put together, is about redemption. It's about the redemption of Anakin Skywalker going to Darth Vader and becoming and finding the light inside of him again. And it's about good and bad. It's about good versus evil and the temptations of evil and how good always wins at the end of the day. That is directly, clearly stated what Star Wars is about. There's no, sure, there can be some, shady good guys. There's some maybe not as evil bad guys. But at the end of the day, Star Wars was never meant. It was never meant to be a franchise that delved into, oh, is this character good? Or are they bad? They're kind of like an anti-hero. They, do a lot of bad stuff, but they do it, for a good reason. No. No. And that's also presented in the villains of Star Wars. You take one look at Darth Vader without any previous context of who he is, you know he's the bad guy. You take one look at Darth Maul, for crying out loud. You don't need anything other than looking at him to tell you're the bad guy. Star Wars was designed like that on purpose by George Lucas. On purpose. It was always meant to have very clear villains and very clear good guys as well. Even if those good guys did tend to get tempted by the dark side, the stories that were about that were about the good guys overcoming that temptation. Luke Skywalker, when he's confronted with, am I going to kill my father and turn to the dark side, or am I going to throw my lightsaber at the Emperor's face and say no to all the power in the galaxy, that's him turning back to the light. Well, just staying on the light. He never really turned from it, but just staying on the light side. And by saying that, in the trailer for The Acolyte, it's not really about good and bad. You're completely going against the actual, true Star Wars narrative. And it's something that has gone on ever since Disney bought Star Wars. I mean, starting from Force Awakens, they just kind of systematically ruin each part of the original trilogy. And the ideals and the moral, the right and wrong taught by the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy ruins that. And, it just Disney systematically, because we're getting into this era now where, everything's, gray, and, there really isn't any right and wrong, and, we're all right. It's your truth. No, that's just not, it's not true. And I feel like most normal people get that. There are fundamental laws of right and wrong. I'm a Christian, and so, for me, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. So, to say that everybody has their own version of what's right and wrong, and it all is right in actuality, that's just blatantly false. In every possible way it could be. And that's the kind of ideology that is evoked through what is said in the trailer for The Acolyte.
How did it come to this?
On top of that, we have more wokeness in terms of the forced diversity. We have more of the agenda. And it seems to be the only reason this show was made. It's set in the High Republic. I do not care about the High Republic whatsoever. For me, if you've heard of the High Republic, it's basically 200-ish years, 100-ish years before Phantom Menace, and it's basically where the universe Star Wars is star peace. It's in the time of peace. Not a lot of overtly bad guys are attacking anybody. It's just a bunch of low, under the radar stuff. Bad stuff that's happening. And I guess in a sense that could be interesting to explore if it was done right. But I feel like the blatant thing about the High Republic is it's just, Disney didn't want to give us the Old Republic, which is what people actually want. No. They want to give us Old Republic Light, discount Old Republic. They want to give us, instead of in the Old Republic when there is clear good guys, clear bad guys, galactic combat, Star Wars, they want to give us the watered down version of that, whatever that is. I haven't read any of the comics or the books because, like I said, I don't care. I just have a basic idea of what that whole era in Star Wars is about. And so that's another reason that the show is just like doesn't sound appealing. It's like, oh, so we're just setting it in the era that I don't think many people care about as much as Disney may think they do, or Disney may just not care and want to put this stuff anyway, push this stuff anyway. The latter is probably the case. But the Acolyte trailer obviously speaks to a larger part of what is all wrong with not just Star Wars, but the entertainment industry in general. And that is that many people in Hollywood are trying to push away the fundamental truths of life in general. Life in general. I mean, at one point in time, regardless of what religion you were, or whether you were a boy or a girl, or all that stuff, people still had these basic things that they believed were good and bad. And now even that is being torn down. So, given that, I'm not watching this show, because that's not what Star Wars is about. And at a certain point, I think more people are waking up to this. More people are realizing the shift in Hollywood. More people are realizing the inflation and influence of wokeness over the years and how it's ruined all sorts of kinds of entertainment. Movies, a few games, shows especially. And people are realizing that. And they're not having it anymore. They are not having it anymore. And that is a good thing, because Star Wars always meant something more than it just being a gimmick. Like, it's not just about, ooh, the lightsabers are awesome, and the fight scenes are awesome, and the aliens and the ships are awesome, and the space battles. No, it's not just about that. It has a core narrative to it that provides a teaching of actual truth, of redemption, of forgiveness, of actual love. Not the ones that the kind of love that the woke people preach. No, that is not what Star Wars is made of. It's about Luke in the original trilogy having a deep love for his father enough to want to redeem him despite everyone else, even both of his mentors, his very wise mentors, being like, he's probably too far gone. Luke is like, no, he's not too far gone. He can still be saved. And even Vader didn't think he could still be saved. And Luke was like, no, you can still be saved. And he bet his life on it. He bet his life on it. He bet the fate of the rebellion on it. And he was right. The core of that story is a good guy wants a bad guy to become a good guy again. If you don't have good and bad, stories like that can't happen anymore. Everybody's just kind of a good guy and a bad guy at the same time, because somehow that's worth exploring or sophisticated. It's just dumb. It's not. People disguise what is just dumb lately as sophistication, as like complex narrative. Oh, it's just different. I've heard that excuse so much. It's just different. Different and bad are not the same thing. They're not the same. And so, yeah, I support what Star Wars was, and what in my heart Star Wars continues to be. The first 6 movies, the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, I think those all encapsulate what the Star Wars is really about perfectly. Most of the other live action stuff that Disney has produced, though, has done everything in their power to tear it down. Except maybe Mandalorian and like the other Dave Filoni stuff. But it just, I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. And I don't want anything to do with it.
And I will have no part of it.
So I'm not going to be watching this show. And because, again, I think as Star Wars fans, we just need to remember what Star Wars is, and remember that it's not just about all the flashiness, it's about an actual story that means something to a lot of people. And Disney, whether people believe it or not, whether people admit it or not, is actively trying to tear that down. So I will have no part of it. And that's that's where I stand. But thank you guys for watching. Have a very blessed day. May the Lord be with you. May the Force be with you. Goodbye. Let's keep Star Wars what it really is. Star Wars. And that's a wrap.